Mishnah, you can hear?
We didn't get to the Mishnah, right? We got a little before.
Right, a little before, right. I'm listening. We want to know if we're audible.
I am. Do you hear me?
Maybe he booted up but then left the room for a minute.
Huh?
Okay.
Correct?
No, I'm here.
Yeah, I think,
Hello?
did I record? Anybody? Yeah, it's recording. Okay. And once again. Yesterday we spoke about, we're on what is it?
Kufchet on the base.
Right, two decimal base, right, by the white lines, we got the white lines. So yesterday's subject was if you have a get and then mion, does the second mion delete the previous get? We had if someone, it's all talking about a minor wife, a wife who's less than Gedola, she's not an adult. So there's no Kedushin Daraisa, it's Kedushin Drabanan. There's, okay, there's Kedushin Drabanan, and if the husband divorces this katana, so then it has a din of a get, well, of course, with Rabbanan, and whatever ramifications that has. But if he didn't divorce her, but she refused, she didn't mean, so then it's this whole thing is absolved as if it never happened, and the ramifications of that. And then there was a question about a get, and then there was a meal, the same husband, a different husband, and the subject came out by different husbands. The Gemara says that it was a machlokas. If the second mion will delete the earlier get, and if he'll be able to marry her. And the way the Gemara looks at it is not because of Masik B'Shas, that's not the point. It's because we're scared that he's gonna, if he's familiar with her and he divorced her, he might want her back. And she wants him the whole time, so he might be able to hint and entice her to be able to come back. We don't want to give him the opportunity to take her away from the second husband. So therefore we say that she can't come back to you. That's what the Gemara discussed. And the Gemara was just earlier mentioned.
So she was in Mayan connected first.
No, the first one was a get, second one was a mian. The Gemara says if the first one left with a mian, then there's no such chash because she doesn't want him. But if he pushed her away, so then she does want him. So we're scared he's going to get her back from the second husband. So we don't allow him to do that. That was a machlokas at least. And the Gemara put down the story about Akiva in the jail. But the Gemara brings down Tunas Chos, that's what we're holding in the middle of. And Rav had, here it is, Rav said, the Mantan Amar Rav, Rav had said that according to Akiva and Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, they said that a Sasser, well, the first husband was with the get, second husband was with Mion, he cannot take her back. And Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi said, no, he could. And that's what we're holding. Amar Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi, Lezu, Lo Tzrachtu, that wasn't a question even. Lisa Kori Sitata, Lisa Lav Lakochkein, that when she does Mion, he does Mion, it allows her to marry, and you don't consider her Ish. So surely to marry to go back to the first husband, which is worse, is going to be Master B'Shas, so we're surely going to matter that. And he holds that the second mion does delete the previous get. But that's what we're up to now. For last narrow line, Purim. But so what was the question? There was some famous question about going to the jail for 400 zuz in order to be able to get the answer from Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi ben Beseir and Tzivin. What was the question that they asked? So the rest of the Gemara is like extra credit a bit because we finished our subject of it. There's a machlokas if the mian after the get deletes the get. But we do want to know, according to Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi, what was the question that they sent to Rabbi Akiva for 400 zuz? So here goes the Gemara. This following was the question. Harej Hoisa Eishes Achi Imo Sheishnia Lo Nasa Achiv Me'avid Umeis Mao Shetemoin. So there's a diagram for that. Here it is on the screen. I hope that it's noticeable on the Zoom. If it's not, please tell me. So here's a case of Eishes Achi Imo Nasa Achiv Me'avid. What do we have over here? Here is a man. Eishes Achi Imo is this woman to this man is Eishes Achi Imo, the wife of the brother of his mother. This man has a mother, and he has a brother, and that's his wife. That's called a shnia. This relationship is a shnia, but the rice is only us to marry. There's an aunt. We call this an aunt. Our mother's brother's wife.
Mothers.
Mother's brother's an uncle. and he's married, so we call her an aunt.
Yeah.
In plain English, we call her an aunt. We don't have all these distinctions. But this aunt is the Torah doesn't forbid him to
Who were you saying is a brother?
this
Their brother and sister.
right.
I see.
His
Okay.
mother's brother's wife.
Yeah, okay.
So with the Rashi, he's allowed to marry her. He'd be allowed to marry his brother. That's not called the aunt that the Torah asks. The Torah asks on the father's side, the father's brother's wife, but the mother's brother's wife is not also. But the Rashi is called the shnia. Now, what happened? He had a brother. This son over here. He had a brother from the common father, not from the common mother. Any reason that he shouldn't be able to marry her? Can somebody marry his brother's wife? That's okay. So this boy over here, this man over here was able to marry her. He married her. That's okay.
It's less of a kesher.
It's not a kesher at all. Not related at all. It's a half brother, and then something on his half brother's side, on the mother's side. That's okay. Of course, he only can marry her if she's not married anymore. She was a brother's wife. So this guy had to die, or divorce, or whatever the case would have been. And fine, this was a good marriage. But now
Right, that's what
he died. He died. That's okay. All right. Now he died. Right now he died. So let's get the words in the Gemara.
He didn't do Yibum. He just married her.
Yeah. There's no Yibum over there. There was no Yibum.
But now he died, and his brother.
And now there is a question of
surviving.
Yibum. Now he's supposed to marry her. He's supposed to do Yibum. Can he do Yibum? So there's a Shnia in the way.
And that's Rabbanan.
Rabbanan, right? So only a Shnia. It's Rabbanan. So usually by the Rabbanan we say, there's a Yibum on a Daraisa level. It's a brother's wife. So it's a Daraisa level.
Yeah.
But there's a Issa Rabbanan standing in the way because it's a Shnia. So usually you'd say, yes, Chalitza can't do Yibum. That would be standard. But what if the case was that she was a Ketana? This woman was a Ketana. So there's a way to get out of it by doing Miyun. If she would do Miyun, then it would clear the way. So yeah. So do Miyun to him. Very nice question. So the two pshatim over here, just throw it out. Rashi says she could do Miyun to the original husband.
Even though she married the other guy?
Yeah, he's dead a long time already. And then she married, he's a second dead husband. And now she's going to be Miyun a long time ago in history that I don't want that to, she's still a Ketana, so it's not such a long time in history, but it's already her second husband died. And she says, I don't want the marriage with the first husband. And she becomes that she's not anymore the aunt Mirabanan. She's not the aunt. And therefore she'd be able to do Yibum. That's one way to learn the Gemara. Or, fine. The same case, same scenario. But now this woman, if she's a Ketana, she has the option of doing Miyun maybe to her old husband, to her first husband. He's dead a long time already.
But that's not the problem. She's falling.
She's 14 because he died.
He married her.
And
brother married her.
And he died. And now this brother is standing up for Yibum because my brother's wife. But right. But that's right. That would have been the regular case for everybody's adults. This woman is a Ketana.
Yes.
So now there's a way to get out of it. If she refuses retroactively the first marriage,
First marriage.
she was once upon a time married to this man's. She's a wife. It's a mother's brother's wife. And if she refuses retroactively this marriage, then she's not the mother's brother's wife. She's a stranger. And then this man will be able to do Yibum to his brother's wife, who never was married, only to his brother. That's how Rashi learns the Gemara. So we'll go over Rashi. There's more pshatim, but we can learn Rashi.
The beggar, I thought she was just going to do Miyun to this guy.
To this guy.
Yeah.
That's what he talks about. And then what's going to happen?
So there's no Yibum.
So what do you gain?
They were never married. She's not falling to her.
So you might gain if there's another wife. If there was another wife besides her, so then it'll permit the other brother. I'm sorry, another brother. Okay, but that's nice. I didn't look into it too much. So let's go with Rashi. But your point is a good point. That there's also a possibility to do Miyun to this brother.
We're going to ask a question, right?
Let's see the question now. We're into the Gemara. This was the question that they
The
asked.
mean works even,
That's the question. Could you even do it after death?
right, that's, to me, is
Right.
like-
So we had a sugi like this before. Did we say that the mean goes even after death? We had such a machlok and Rabbi Shai, and the Gemara is bringing it up over here. And here the question is because it's Rabbanah. But then we even had a question behind the Raisa. There was even a question for Mion, more out of the Raisa case, which the Gemara put down before about the Ula and Rabbi Shai. Hashta, I stopped making the highlighting. I should have continued.
Wasn't that the question?
This is all the question.
Maush
That's the
question?
That's the question. That was the question. The chart is good. We see the chart again. If that's good,
From now.
let her do Miyun now. I'm learning Rashi. Let her do Miyun now,
So she's not.
and she'll uproot the marriage retroactively, and he will be able to do Yibum to her because it's his brother's wife, and she's not an aunt anymore. That's how Rashi reads the Gemara. What I did now is without there's a Tzaros over here. That's Taishus has that. So it is learning Rashi. What's the question? Is it possible to do Miyun even after death? Usually not, but here there's a mitzvah. The more throws in for a mitzvah to do Yibum, maybe will allow her to do Miyun retroactively to the first husband. So they didn't. This was the question that they had, and this was the emergency they sent to Rabbi Akiva in jail. Sachu shnei bnei adam, or some say sachu adam echad. That's the way it was before. They hired somebody for 400 zuz. Ubov v'shalosh Rabbi Akiva b'beis asurin, and V'asar, he said no, you're not allowed to. You're not going to say that you could do the miyun after death, even for a mitzvah. And also they asked Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseir ben Esivin, also V'asar. So that was just wrapping up yesterday's Gemara that we had a machlokes if the miyun after get is strong enough to delete the previous get, and we quoted Rav saying that was what Rabbi Akiva answered in the jail, and according to Bishma Rabbi Yossi, that wasn't answered. That's surely mutter. So then we just finished off today to say what did they ask in the jail over there. The Gemara continues in the bottom over here. So what did we say? That there's a machlokes. Rav said that if there was a miyun, a get, and then miyun, the two different husbands. The first husband gave a get. Second husband, the miyun is still high. It's still there. You can't go back. Why? Because we don't want the first husband to be able to entice her to come back. Now, Amar Yitzchak Bar Ashan, how about his brother?
I'm sorry, what did we do with Scarl? Did we do that yet?
Yeah, we did it. Sachu shnei bnei adam, the Abba Me'azuz, they hired two people. We just changed it to one person. Sachu adam echad, Abba Me'azuz, and they came to ask Rabbi Akiva, Beis Asurin, Ubav v'shalosh Rabbi Akiva Beis Asurin, and Asaf, he said, no, you're not allowed to. The case before with that, doing a miyun to the dead man, the first husband, and make it off retroactively, he said you're not allowed to, and so too the Asaf B'Dei Ben Beseir and Stephen v'Asah. Period. That's the end of that Gemara, yesterday's Gemara. That's good. Now the Gemara starts on the first line, 5 lines from the bottom. The first one on the line. Again, we said the one husband, this girl, she's a katana. The first husband married her and gave her a get. Second husband married her and did miyun. So we don't allow her to go back to the first husband because we want to avoid that he shouldn't entice her. How about the brother? Is the brother of that first husband allowed to marry her? The husband who gave a get. There's a katana that got married, got a get from Reuben. She married Shimon and he did miyun.
She can't marry.
Why not?
Because she was married to him.
She was married to-
Get. So there was no me, and it was a real marriage. So now she can't go back.
Right, but it wasn't well, between me and you, it wasn't a real marriage. She's a katana, and it's all over.
Still.
And the only reason, and really, the miyun after the get really does delete the get. Means really, as far as we're concerned, we see that she's a katana. There's no chash. If the husband gives a get to a katana, so it looks like she's a grusha, looks dangerous. So we consider it like a grusha, and the relatives are not allowed to marry her. She can marry his relatives, he can marry her relatives. But here, there wasn't miyun after get, and the Gemara said really, according to the regular klolim, the miyun after get should delete the get. But we're scared that the brother, the first husband shouldn't entice his ex-wife to come back. But here, he's not enticing, he's a brother.
Right.
So any reason that the brother should be also. In this case, it wasn't that it really ended with a get. It ended with a get and miyun. It was miyun after that. And really the miyun does delete the get before. Only we're just concerned, the side point, that the ex-husband shouldn't come and entice his ex-wife to come back. But there's no problem with that the brother's going to entice her because they have no relationship yet. That's what the Gemara talks about. That she even though she was usher temporarily to the brother, as long as he was married to her. But now that there was a mian afterwards, so it's mutter. The Mar says pshita, of course. Who knew the makers were low? Of course it's mutter, because all the reason why it's us is because she recognizes his nuances, the way he'd be able to entice her to come back. So that's why we don't allow him to take her back if the second one would do mian. But the brother doesn't have that relationship with her, so there's no chash. So what's the problem? The get really is off because deleted because the mian is afterwards. So the Gemara says there is a chiddush. You might make a gzera that if you're going to allow the brother to marry, people are going to say, "Oh, you allow the brother to marry." That means that the get is off because the mian deleted it. So too, the ex-husband himself is also allowed to marry. They won't differentiate because of gzera. You have to answer it also. You might think so. Kamashma that it's mutter. And Nikadami say that it's taka asa. Nikadami yom ravitzak barashan kashem shasur lo kachasur lo. And just like the ex-husband is not allowed to take her back, the one who divorced her is not allowed to take her back if she got married from the second husband. So too, the brother is also not allowed to marry anymore. And the kasha is why not? He doesn't have that relationship. Say him, or Mizo say him. She doesn't recognize his nuances, the brother-in-law. So what's the problem? He's not going to be able to entice her back. The answer is because if you're going to allow him the brother to take her, people will think that it shows that the get is off, and therefore the husband himself, that we don't want, because he does have a relationship with her that he'd be able to entice her back, and we don't want him to be able to grab away the wife of the second one.
So Igadamri means some people hold that you make a gezerah.
Right, two versions of what Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Ashian said. It's all two versions of what Rabbi Yitzchak. Did he say that it's mutter and you don't say this gezerah, or did he say that it's asa because you do have this gezerah?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I just have to take a second. I see that the electricity is not working, which is a problem sometimes. That's been here. I'm not sure where the problem is. I don't know where the problem is. This might disconnect us. Yeah. Okay, on the bottom. I'm a garage zero. I have some pictures over here also. Everything should be on again. It was working the whole time. This was getting. I saw that it was getting loose, without being pumped in. But so now it seems to be working. I'm a garage zero. I'll have some drawing over here. Let's see what we could do. Here's a drawing over here. Somebody had a wife. Here, this couple, he had a wife. And here, him and her.
Yeah.
And he divorced her. Step number one, he divorced her. That line just symbolized that he divorced her.
Okay.
And then he married her again.
Step number two.
Took her back. And then he died.
And then he died.
So is there
He
evil?
died while he was married to her.
Okay. But you can hear everything, and you see what's going on also. Okay, that's better.
So what's the problem? It seems like he could do yibum.
So Leib Yaakov says, why not do yibum? It's his brother's wife. He was married, divorced, and married again. A regular adult woman, he divorced her. She didn't marry anybody else. No Masik Gusha, so he's allowed to take her back if she didn't remarry. So he married her again. Step one, he divorced her. Then he married her again, then he died. And he had no children.
He was a real husband to her.
A real husband, and then a real divorce, and then the second, right. So yeah, who cares? She's the wife. What's the history? They divorced, got married again. So that sounds good. Sounds good. That's what the Gemara Mishnah says. So Leib Yaakov said, like the Mishnah, why not? But Rabbi Lezer argues. Rabbi Lezer also. And we don't know why. Let's continue. Same case, just we'll look at the same case again. But now it's same case, but she happened to be a ketana. This was a marriage drabanan. She was a little girl, 10 years old. He divorced her, married her again. Also he's allowed to because nobody else took her in between. And then he died, same thing, same scenario. So on a drabanan level, but also, could you do yibum? So once again, Tanakama is going to say yes. And Rabbi Elazar is going to say no, we don't know why not.
The difference is what?
That she's a ketana. This girl was a ketana.
Because of Yatum.
Right. It's almost not way of saying that her father died, and he could have made a kedushin deraisa, but he didn't. So he was by the brothers, the mother, and kedushin rabbanan, same thing. And he divorced her, and then he married her back, and then he died. And the brother again, do yibum. Everything's going to be on rabbanan level, but same thing. And
Didn't we used to say that that we should wait till she grows up to do yibum? Or we didn't? That isn't what we learned.
why should he wait up to do yibum? Why should he wait till she grows up?
Oh no. Okay. Maybe I'm thinking of me. Okay. In a regular,
I'm not following. Okay, I'm not following why. I don't think so. But okay, if you remember something, and now the Gemara continues. Mishnah continues. Third case: Ketana she'isia v'yav v'nizgasha ki yisamu b'chayam. A ketana that her father was alive. We didn't have this the whole time. We always spoke about a ketana that was only kedushin rabbanan because her father was died and didn't marry her wolves, and then the kedushin is only rabbanan. But this is the deraisa case that the father has the jurisdiction to be able to marry off his daughter, even as a ketana, and he did. And that means she's a real Eishes Ish, even though she's a ketana, she's really married. And then the husband divorced her. And now the father is not able to marry her a second time. And if there's a marriage, it's going to be considered a yesoma b'chaya, an orphan girl in the lifetime of the father. That's a poetic expression. That it's possible to be a yesoma b'chaya. The father's alive, but she's considered yesoma, that the father doesn't have the jurisdiction over her anymore. He can marry off her again. And if she marries, it's going to be also drabanan. So that's case. This is a new case. This woman, the same.
her father married her off like in a regular case, a deraisa case.
Right, even though she's a ketana, right? And then the husband.
Because she's a ketana, not even.
Yeah, right. And even though she's a ketana, it's the raisa because the father had their jurisdiction of doing that, and the husband divorced her.
And the husband divorced her.
And she's still not yet 12 years old. She's still a ketana, and they wanted to marry her again, but now the father doesn't have the right to do that anymore.
That's what his key is. So
That's he's considered orphan in the lifetime of her father.
Fine, that's one time.
Right. And once she gets divorced from that, he can't do it a second time. And therefore, the marriage that happens is going to be kedushin rabbanan. So what happened over here?
So when it says Bahazira, the
I think that's already further. There's zero. There's zero. I didn't say the law. I say the case. The case is that.
So the case is that he divorced her in the father's lifetime, and she's like an orphan, meaning that the father doesn't have jurisdiction to.
And he married her a second time. But the marriage second time, the same case. He can't marry her off a second time to be at the father, but she can marry like any orphan girl that she has a kedushin d'Rabbanan. So we look at the diagram again. It's the same case over here. That's the case before we do the text. The same case, but here the divorce was a divorce. The first marriage, they had two marriages, right? The first marriage, then they got divorced, then they married again. In this case, the first marriage was a marriage d'Oraisa, and then he divorced her from that marriage d'Oraisa, and then he married her d'Rabbanan. The first marriage is a d'Oraisa marriage. Second marriage is a Rabbanan marriage. What were you saying in this case? Before looking, no picking. What were you saying in this case? Because the brother do yibum.
Well, because it's a Rabbanan now.
So on the Raisa level, is he allowed to do yibum?
Yeah,
Of course.
the bottom we said that he can't.
On the
It's a
Raisa
Raisa.
level, this case.
Yeah, it's a regular case.
No, it's a regular case that it's his brother's ex-wife is his sister-in-law.
Oh, that's
And there's no
his
mitzvah of
wife.
yibum. This is his brother's ex-wife. You look at the Raisa eyes, put on your Raisa glasses. So you only see the Raisa. What do you see? That his brother married somebody, the Raisa, and then divorced her. He's allowed to marry his sister-in-law.
No.
There's no mitzvah of yibum
Right.
because not married anymore.
I see.
And the Rabbanan, she's married, but with the Raisa, she's not. So he's not allowed to marry her with the Raisa. She's an heir from the Raisa.
I see.
So here the Mishnah is going to say that here surely there's no yibum. Now we see the text inside. Ketana she'sia via v'nizgasha, and now she's kisama b'chaya and v'chzira, and now he took her a second time, but this second time is only considered kedushin d'Rabbanan. Everybody holds in this case she's going to be also to the because with the Raisa she's a sister-in-law without any mitzvah of yibum. So in the first two cases that both of them with the Raisa, both of them with Rabbanan. Just look at the case again. We had in the first case this girl was a gedola. So the first marriage and the second marriage, both of them with the Raisa. The second case was she was a ketana both times, so both of them were kedushin d'Rabbanan, a marriage d'Rabbanan. So in that case, Tanakama says, why not do yibum? Because since the second marriage is as good as the first marriage, so there's a mitzvah to do yibum. What's the difference? But historically, once upon that time they were divorced. That doesn't make a difference. Rabbi Elazar says to us, we don't know why yet. In the third case, we do understand the first marriage was the Raisa, and that's over. and the second marriage is only Rabbanan, so everybody agrees he cannot do Yibum because it's his sister-in-law without a mitzvah of Yibum. That's the Mishnah.
It's a fact that we know that a father is only allowed to marry his daughter off once,
At least in this Mishnah we're told, is there other places where it says that I'm not familiar? I don't know.
or is it because he marries her and it's a derisa marriage, and then if she gets divorced now, in other words,
She's on her own now. Once she gets married, she's on her own. She's independent from her father. Once she gets married, she's in her husband's domain, and she doesn't go back to her father anymore. You ask her where it says so. This Mishnah is saying so, but is it more explicit someplace? I forget. My ignorance.
He doesn't have a chance to marry her off.
A second time.
If she did me, then maybe.
He could. No. What do you mean? The father's alive. What's the case of Mian? He married her off the Risa. She's a real Ashish. And then the husband divorced, and there's no Mian, and the husband divorced her, and then she comes home back to her father's house. But the father can encourage her to get married again, but it's only going to be Kedushin Rabban, like the mother and the brother.
Okay, we'll see.
I'm sure that is someplace, but I don't know. I'm not familiar.
And that's why they call it like this.
Yisoma b'chaya.
Today, the father can't marry before. Today,
With the rice he could.
I see can.
Only a time.
In Borough Park, I heard the case that the guy said he did it, and he wasn't going to say who he did it to unless they would give him a lot of money.
Okay.
He said that his daughter can't get married now because he right?
Okay, that's the Gemara so far. That's the Mishnah so far. Now the Gemara, we said we don't understand Rabbi Elazar. Why is he answering the whole time? The first two cases, we didn't know why Rabbi Elazar answered. So that's the Gemara's discussion. Why should Rabbi Elazar hold that it's answer? The Gemara has over here 4 Amandiyamim. There's going to be Eifa and Abaye, Rava and Ravashi, and they're going to offer reasons why Rabbi Elazar should have said that it's answer. Eifa is not a common name in the Gemara, but the Gemara says in Sanhedrin he was called Charifi the Pumpadisa. He was the sharp ones of Pumpadisa. Eifa, you find Eifa and Avimi, and he is the first opinion over here. He's an Amor. My time of the Rabbi Elazar. Why should we hold that it's answer? The answer, because the first marriage, I have to get on again. I took it off. I'm sorry. It's not even a second. It's not sharing. I did something wrong over here. Back to first base. Okay. So back to the screen. Yeah. So Rabbi Elazar looks at the two marriages as two separate entities. So it's true that he married her a second time. I'm talking about the first case. The first case that she was a Gedola both times, or the second case she was a Ketana both times, no difference. But he looks at it as if 2 stages. So at the time that he divorced her, she was also to marry him. As soon as this Reuven, his brother Shimon is the one who married and divorced and died. So at the time that he married her, there's the brother's wife that potentially, if the husband's going to die, will fall to Yibum. But if at any time she became usher to the brother-in-law, even in the case of the brother's death, that's called that she became usher as a sister-in-law. After the first marriage was over, this relationship is like a real separation between this man ever being able to marry her. Because usually when the brother marries her, she's still potentially mutter to him in the case of the brother's death. That's called Yibum. But once he divorced her, at that point, then he's usher to her, even in the case of brother's death. That stays.
So once he divorced her, even if he died then,
he wouldn't be mutter, even though he married her again. We still don't forget the history, because at one time she became the sister-in-law that's usher, so she has the issue of a sister-in-law. And even though he married her again, it doesn't come on again. That was Rabbi Elazar, right? Tanakam holds that it's no problem because he married her again. You don't look at history, and according to Rabbi Elazar, you look at the history. And that's the reason why he would hold that as us. So that was Eifa's pshat. But other Chachamim said to Eifa, that can't be. If that's true, that she's considered a real erva, a real sister-in-law without a mitzvah, so then it's no relationship at all, and he shouldn't even have to do chalitza. When it says, according to Rabbi Elazar, he should say that there's no chalitza either. Rabbi Elazar also on top line, that the first case that it says, Rabbi Elazar also, Tanakam says do yibum, Materis do yavam, do yibum. Rabbi Elazar says don't. Does that mean don't do anything? it only means don't do yibum, but you can't, but you do need chalitza. And according to your pshat, you shouldn't even need chalitza. Maybe you'll say that's what Abelazar means, that you don't need chalitza either. No, the Brisa says openly, Batani, B'Shem Abelazar Amru, chaletzes, that you do need chalitza. Your reason is too strong. If your reason is right, then it's such a good reason that it should even mean that you shouldn't even have to have chalitza. And that's not true. You do need chalitza. So Eph's reason is off. El Amar Efa, Abelazar, Lo Yadana, my time. So Efa retracted and he said, I don't know. I don't know the reason of Abelazar. So that's all.
So you done it, Mike.
I don't know the reason. Now goes Abaye. Amar Abaye, second reason. The first one's off. Amar Abaye, second chance. I know time of Abelazar. The reason of Abelazar is close to the first shot, but a little bit edited. Misafkale, Abelazar, Misafkale, Imisa Mapelas, Inusun Mishana Mapilim. When we talk about Yibum, when does a woman fall to Yibum? So we think simply that at the time of the death, that's when she falls to the brother. There's another way to look at it, that when the first brother got married, in the small print, when he marries her, in the small print it says that in case of death of the husband, she's connected to the brother-in-law. And that's what happens. That's what's activated when the brother, as soon as they're married, that's what's activated. It means that the Gemara is going to say that this Torah that Rabbi Elazar said, Eifa said, that the first marriage is still activated. The first marriage made an Isser of a sister-in-law. That's only if you look at Yibum taking effect at the time of the first marriage, at the time of the marriage. But if it only takes place at the time of the death of the husband, so then we don't look at the history before. I mean, the Gemara is agreeing to what we said, but the Gemara is saying it depends. Here's just to see the chart again, that the first marriage is over, and at that time she becomes usher to the husband. But that's far only works to say that we still look at the history that in the first marriage, she became usher to the brother after the divorce. She became usher, and that still stays forever. That's only if you say that the fine print of the first marriage already said that there's an issue of yibum and there's a connection to the sister-in-law, and if that ever goes off, then it becomes usher forever. But if you say that the whole issue of yibum doesn't get onto the table until the death of the brother, at that time they're already married again, and then you're not going to look at the history that once upon a time they were married and divorced. This divorce that makes him usher to her, we don't care about the yibum. Only if you look at it.
The history is only
If you hold that the marriage.
time of the death.
Right. So if you don't bring up the issue of Yibum until the time of the death, we're not going to look back into the history.
I see.
So therefore, now what does he say?
Where was the end of the sentence?
So here, Rabbi, he has the doubt. Rabbi Elazar is not sure. What makes the mapilim? The mapelas means falling to Yibum. When does the fall to Yibum happen? Misa mapelas means at the time of death of the husband. That's when she falls to Yibum to the brother-in-law. That's one side. Or that the first marriage, the beginning of the marriage, that's when she becomes obligated to Yibum. If the time of the death makes the Yibum Haramya Kamei the Yibum. So then there's a do Yibum. There's no reason not to do Yibum because you don't look at the history. You just look right now. Right now the husband died and he has a wife and fine. So she falls to Yibum. Like the Tanakama. But the other side is no. If the Yibum is activated or at least registered by the time of the marriage, so then since then there's been a time that she wasn't mutter to him because she was divorced, and therefore we're going to consider the fact that there was a time that she wasn't mutter, the time of the divorce. And since Rabbi is not sure, means Efa, the first shot, he was taking it that it's a definite that Nisun Rishonim Apilim, and therefore he said that it's Aser, and then the Kasha was, don't even do Chalitza. He said, you're right, I don't know. But Abaye put in another factor that it's possible to say Misa Mapelas, and there is no such issue like the Rabbanan say, and therefore it's a suffix. Since it's a suffix, so do Chalitza, don't do Yibum. And that is
So
Abaye's
it's like
point.
a way of fixing the first.
It's adjusting the first shot of Efa. It's putting in another factor that makes it into a suffix. Third shot.
Can
Rabba
you remind me what the difference is between Umar Rava and Rava Amar?
Usually, Amar Rava is when he's starting a
He's starting a
statement,
new thing.
and Rava Amar is when he's coming to say something in contrast to what somebody said before him.
So it should have been a Bayat, right? Because it was really about Efa.
He's saying that Amar Abaya, he could have said Abaya Amar also. Again, could be. Sometimes you look in the different Girsos, you'll see over there some changes.
Okay.
It could be you'll be happy with that. Rava Amar, first white line. Another pshat. Lolam Shita La Balaza de Misa Mapelas. This whole pshat is not true. You don't have to say this pshat. Misa Mapelas at the time of death, and the whole history is deleted. And the fact that once upon a time there was a divorce doesn't concern us. Right now they're married and he died, and there should be Yibum. So what's the reason? Back to the question. Why is the reason of Elazar? Umiyu Akol became Begerishin. Then Akol became Bechazora. That's his answer. That what happened over here, back to the diagram, that there was a divorce. And then he married her again. Because of the divorce, he shouldn't be allowed to do even because of the divorce. If the marriage should be a reason why he should be able to. The Gemara says not everybody heard about the second marriage. People heard that they were married and that there was a divorce. That they heard about. The fact that he took it back again, not everybody heard about it. And now he died. And then the brother's going to come and do yibum. People are going to think that he did yibum to a sister-in-law that was divorced, and they don't know that they were remarried. So that's the reason why
That's a gezerah.
Right. Definitely do need
It's a
chalitza.
gezerah, and that's why you.
You do need chalitza, right? No yibum because people might think that he's marrying a sister-in-law without yibum, but you do need chalitza because really she is married. That was Rabba's answer. The more doesn't like it, the more jumps up. Other Rabba, Chazara, Chivin the Yasfa to say. It's like Allah. Which one is more people will realize that she's married or that she's divorced? Right now, she's presently married. So is that reasonable to say people are going to know that she was divorced and they're not going to know that she remarried? On the contrary, it's more reasonable people should know the present state, current events, is that she's married. When the husband died, she was presently married. History says that she was divorced, but what are people going to remember? That she's divorced or that she's married? Wouldn't you say the fact that currently she's married, that people would pay attention to that more? The more says no. We don't know how long this second marriage was. It could be sometimes that he took her back last night and then he died in the morning. So you don't know how long the second marriage was. So it could be cases where people will still know, they'll be conscious of the divorce and they won't be conscious of the remarriage. And they'll say that he's doing yibum to a sister-in-law that was divorced. We don't want that. Therefore, we say that he should do chalitza, not yibum. That's a possible reason of Rabbi Lazar. And now goes the fourth reason. Rav Ashi. Because really, you have to do chalitza. You have to because they're really married. She did remarry, and there's no reason not to do yibum. But we're scared people didn't hear about the second marriage. They just heard about the divorce without hearing about the second marriage. It could have been only overnight, and already he died. So they're going to think that he's doing yibum to a sister-in-law who was divorced. They don't realize he was remarried again. So therefore, Rabbi Elazar said, don't do yibum.
And Abaye and Rafa both have good reasons at this point.
Yeah. No one's disproven. Rav Ashi going to say another reason, and that the Gemara is going to have a brayso. So the Gemara is going to be happiest with Rav Ashi's reason. Rav Ashi Yama, I know Tamad Rabbi Elazar. The Gazarani Mishum Yisamu B'Chaya Zira. Because in the Mishnah alone, we said that I have to go to the chart. Just go back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah itself had three cases, right? The first two cases were that both marriages were as a gedola. So he married her as a gedola. She's a regular daraisa. He divorced her, married again. Second case was she was a ketana. She still was a ketana. Both of them were ketana. Third case was a dangerous case. The first marriage was daraisa because the father married her off. Second one was only rabbanan because the father, after she was divorced out of that marriage, it's only rabbanan to marry again. That's the case that's us. Because of that case, so we're going to answer all the other cases also. Since sometimes this scenario, right. Because of the third case, we're going to answer the first cases also. Because sometimes it'll be us because it'll be a midaraisa, a sister-in-law without yibum because they're not married midaraisa. Because second marriage is only rabbanan. Because of that case, we answer the first cases also. That's easy. Vashama because of Xera. And Hachanam Mistarva, the more is even going to like that because their Sefer, the end of the Mishnah, brings in this third case. What's the chiddush of the third case? It seems to be simple. We can figure it out ourselves. The whole Sefer, the one that's supposed to Sefer that says the case where she was a gedola by the first, the Raisa by the first marriage, and the second marriage is Rabbanon, then she's not allowed to do Yibum, and that's simple. Hi, my lemema. What I have to say that for Pshita, that goes without saying. We can figure it out by ourselves. I must be telling you that that's the reason of Rabbi Elazar. The reason why the Mishnah brings in the third case is to tell us this is the reason of Rabbi Elazar. The reason Rabbi Elazar answers the first two cases is because the third case is truly Yasa. It's true that it's Pasha, the third case, but we're coming to say that's the reason that Rabbi Elazar answered the other cases because of Xera of this case. Tanya Kavasa de Ravashi, Shramina. And the one even has the Brisa, which also supports that. The Brisa is going to say more or less everything that we said, but it's going to say the word modim. This word modim. The Chachamim agree to Rabbi Elazar in the third case. And what does mean modim? That means that implies that that's the reason that he answered the other case also. This case, everybody agrees. And Rabbi Elazar answered even the other cases also. It's not also for the same reason. Yeah, and the Brisa says a little bit, the order is different. It says the third case first. And then it says the machlokes cases. But the main point Rashi says is that it says the word modim. In the Mishnah, it doesn't say modim. Modim chacham Rabbi Elazar b'ktana she'isi aviyav v'nesgarsha rei kisam b'chayav v'chzira she'asur liyavam. The chachamim agreed to Rabbi Elazar in this third case that if she was married the first time, the Raisa by your father, and then the second marriage was only Rabbanan, so then she's also to do the Yibum. But here it explains, because the divorce is a real divorce, and she's really a sister-in-law without any mitzvah of Yibum. But coming back, the second marriage was not real with the Raisa, and therefore he's not allowed to take her because there's no Yibum over here. So that's the first case, and it says the word Modim. The Brisa continues in this third case, that the Gerushin, the divorce was after she was a Ketana, but it was the marriage of Raisa because the father married her off. And the Chazara was she was still a Ketana, so the second marriage was Rabbanan. But if the second marriage was at the Raisa also, because she's already a 12-year-old and she married on the Raisa level. The first marriage, when she was a Ketana, the father married her off. That made it the Raisa. The second marriage, when she was a Gedola, and there's a real regular the Raisa. So then both of them are the Raisa. The Rabban are going to argue on Rebbe Elazar in this case. Inami, if there would be a case of that she was a Ketana, as the father married her off, the Gadla Etzlo, and then she became a Gedola while she was still married to him. I'm sorry. This is the second. It's all going in the case where the father married her off the first time, and this case, either the second marriage was after she became a Gedola, or she stayed. He took her back the second time as a Drabanan, but it turned into a Deraisa because she stayed even until she became a Gedola. The second one was a Drabanan because she was still a Ketana. But then she stayed with him until she became a Gedola, and that turned into a Deraisa. So it means both of them are Deraisa. Kitzer, it means that both marriages are Deraisa. So then Tanakama says, "Oh, then she could do Yibum because the second marriage is just as strong as the first marriage." This case also, and as the Gemara explained, that the mashmos is that it's a gezerah because of the first case. Here we're calling it the first case, it's called the third case because of the case where the first marriage is the Raisa and the second remarriage is going to be Drabanan. Some of the Raisa is not allowed to marry her because they're not really related. It means they're not related a second time. It's a sister-in-law of past without any new marriage. So because of that case, Rebbe Elazar answers the first cases also. Okay, a little bit further before we get so I think I have something on the not no big deal over here, but that's the same case. The next diagram is going to be the same case. Here's the case. This is the case we're talking about till now. We saw this diagram many times, and just one more change. That there's another wife also. Mm-hmm. Same case. This dot is nothing. This is just but there's another wife also. This wife was the same wife as before. Same story. She was a Ketana. He divorced her. He married her again, and there's a tzara. This we didn't have till now. There's also another wife.
So she's a Gedol.
She's a Gedol. That's a regular marriage. Now what? Is the
church going to be? Oh, so
now what does it mean? With the Raisa, let's look at the Raisa language.
If the wife herself is Aser, then the church is Aser.
So if it be right, if she's called an Erva, you look at her as like a sister-in-law without mitzvah of Yibam. So then she's a Tzorah Erva and she shouldn't be able to do Yibam. Yeah, or if you look at the Raisa, if you just look on put on your Raisa glasses, then you just see that there's one wife over here, and his brother, he has a wife, died without children, so he has to do Yibam. There's a Raisa Yibam over here. And here, there's the whole invention is Drabanan that makes her an erva maybe. The Rabbanan say that she also can do Yibam. The Rabbanan have a problem. In this case, Rabbanan have no problem. Rabbanan say do Yibam. Rabbi Elazar said don't do Yibam. Is Rabbi Elazar going to be so far to say that it's also considered an erva, also the Sarah also? That's the question. No, I mean, Rav Nachman said Rosamau. Amalei, so Rav Nachman said back, he grew up Gzera, but not naked Gzera. That even according to Belazar, it's only Asum Rabbanan. It's only Gzera that people will, like they said, Rav Ashi's pshat. He said the reason is because they'll think. What did he say? He just said Rav Ashi. In some cases, it's going to happen, or whatever the pshat of Rabbi was before. That sometimes there will be a problem, but it's only Rabbanan, so we're not going to also answer the tzara also. The kash is Vatani B'Shem Belazar Amru. He the tzarasa choletzes. It says in the brisa that Rav Elazar doesn't only say that she does chalitza. But so that means that the tzara also has to do chalitza. You're saying that the tzara could do yibum even. You don't look at it like it's Sarah Serva. You're saying the whole thing's Xera. You're not going to make it so far. And the Brisa seems to say, not like that. The open Brisa seems to say that the Sarah also cannot do Yibum. If it says in the words, that means that either one of them has to do Chalitza. So the Gemara says, it doesn't say that. Since if you have a Persian Brisa, I would step down, but it doesn't say. You have to fix it up anyway. You have to edit it. If you have to edit it, I can edit it differently. Now, to Rusi Kamatar says, aren't you not answering you're editing the Brisa? To Ritzach, he's edited it a little differently. He Choletzes, but Rosa or Choletzes so much bemis. The Brisa is not so clear, so you can't bring a proof from it. Anyway, something got messed up over there. So we'll explain that the Tzara could do Yibum also. So what the Gemara just finished saying is that even though Abelazar holds that this case is the regular case, this woman is not allowed to do Yibum, for whatever reason we said the Gzera, we had Abaye, we had Rava, we had Ravashi, they're more like Rabashi the best. Whatever reason she can't, there was only Gzera. But that's not a reason why the Sarah shouldn't be able to. It's too much. It's a Gzera. Maybe according to Abaye that it is called a suffix, maybe then. But according to Rava and Ravashi, it's only Gzera Rabbanan, so that she's not allowed to do it. So we're not going to call it a Sarah Serva, and she would be able to do Yibum.
But if he did Chalitza to that one,
To the small one.
then the other one's out?
So while I was saying it, I also got stuck that
Because he said that either you do,
to either one. The
you
Gemara
did do Chalitza to her, and that seems like the other one's
right. So I don't understand. You're asking a kasha that I didn't realize that the Gemara sounds like if you did chalitza to the small one, to the ketana, then that's enough, and that doesn't seem to make sense because with the Raisa, that's not a marriage, and this is a marriage. So how could she go free? That seems to be a kasha I didn't have while I was preparing. Seems to be a nice kasha. Okay,
But we were reading it right.
we read it right, but
Either he
something's
does
wrong.
something to her, or he
Yeah,
does
right.
one of the others.
Right. And after that, the Gemara says no, that he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to do it to both. He doesn't have to. He can do.
He doesn't have to do both.
It doesn't have to do it to both, and that's a kasha. Why doesn't it have to do it to both? I don't know the answer. Okay, next Mishnah.
But if he makes Chalitza to one, back to the shore.
But that's only if they're both married. But here the Ketana is not really married, and the Kedol is married. So doing Chalitza to the Ketana shouldn't free the big one. That's Levi Yaakov's kasha. Try to come back with an answer. If I remember it till after Shabbos. The Mishnah continues. We have a diagram here. Then maybe we'll just sum everything up, and then we'll see the Mishnah. Here's a case: two sisters, two brothers married two sisters. Both of them are. I tried to make it a little smaller to show that they're ketanos. Two brothers married two sisters, and one of them died. What if they would have been big sisters? So there's no divorce because he can't marry. He can't marry his wife's sister. He can marry his brother's wife, but happens to be a wife's sister also. That's an error, like it says in the first Mishnah that Tesva Barayas. So this woman is his wife's sister. So there's no difference if they're both adults or they're both ketanos. That he cannot do. There's no reason to do Yibum or Chalitza because this is his wife's sister.
Mhm.
Same way if they will both be adults. So if they're both ketanos, also the same thing. Now how about over here that one is an adult and one is a minor? I tried to make this one smaller.
And their sisters.
And they're sisters.
The same thing.
And this, let's say the case of what?
No, because that marriage is not a real marriage.
Right. Here you have one is real, one is
Oh.
not. So over here, let's say that the husband of the Ketana died. And now the question is that you have to, that this live brother, should have to do Yibum to her, but happens to be his wife's sister.
Right.
So what would you say?
Say no,
No what?
don't do people.
Don't, how about Chalitza? Anything? It's a real wife's sister. She's a real erva. It's a fake Yibum and it's a real erva.
Yeah, so say don't do
So
that.
don't do anything. Don't do anything because it's a real. Even if it will be
It's a
both,
real error.
even if it will be both married, both of them will be gedolos. He wouldn't do anything. It's a wife's sister. It's a real wife's sister.
Yeah.
And even here, it's work. It's even not a real yibum. So sure, you don't do anything. How about this case? That the husband of the big sister died.
That's a real marriage.
That
This
was
isn't
a real marriage, and this is a real
Not a-
yibum, a real
It's a
thief
real
yibum.
yibum and not a real marriage.
And right, and this wife's sister is not really a wife's sister. That means that the Torah looks at it and says do yibum, and the Rabbanan say there's a problem. You can't do yibum because with Rabbanan she's a wife's
People
sister.
will see that they're sisters.
People will see.
Yeah,
Means
like
with
a
Rabbanan,
Gezerah.
but yeah, but Rabbanan, not that right. It's called a system with Rabbanan. It's called a wife. It's a marriage with Rabbanan. Some with Rabbanan it's a wife's sister, Not because
People will see it as a marriage, even though it's.
I'm not, that's not the way to say it. Rabbanan say that it's a marriage. Rabbanan gave it, it's a marriage with Rabbanan. So he's not allowed to marry her. You're saying that's not the point. With the right say he has to do Yibum or Chalitza. With Rabbanan, he can't do Yibum.
So he has to do it.
So what would we say at this point?
Force him to do.
Force him to do Chalitza. But could he keep his wife?
After he does chalitza?
Achos Chalutzasa.
Huh?
Achos Chalutzasa. The same way you're not allowed to marry Achos Gushasa. His wife's in trouble now. This young girl, she has a problem that she should have Yibum, and this little sister is stopping her from getting Yibum. But she can get Chalitza. But she is disturbing. What?
Can we wait till she grows up?
What do you do after she grows up?
Then she'll be a gadol and it'll be a real marriage.
And then
Or what, he would have to divorce her
why?
because he's doing chalitza for the other one.
Why do Chalitza to the other one?
She's waiting. She's a zakuka to him.
So wait.
Hmm?
We're waiting. And now
But she grew up.
and now we make a 12th birthday party. What happens by the birthday party? She becomes
It's
a
a real
Gedola.
marriage.
And now they're really married. Okay, now he looks at his sister-in-law. You're my wife's sister.
Oh, right.
Oh, and then he doesn't have to do anything.
Maybe. That's going to be one of the choices.
Oh.
We'll see here. There are going to be a couple of. There are going
Birthday present.
But wait and you don't do anything. Not wait until.
We'll see now. They're going. In this case, this same case. Let us. And there's going to be three opinions coming up. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Yeshua. What do you do in this case? So we'll see it in the Gemara now. Yes, please.
Why can't the katana make? Why can't she make me? And she said it.
Oh, that's all. Rabbi Elazar is let's go back a second. Another choice. How come we tell if we tell this young girl, tell your husband you don't want him, so it's all off. You're out of here,
Yeah,
and then he can go on to do Yibum.
right.
Now, is that nice to tell her
We had it many times.
No, you tell you. I'm asking you. This girl's going to come to you and ask you, "I need an eitzah." They're telling me to refuse my husband, and my sister's going to get married to my husband.
Right, that's
Is that you want me to? I should give out my husband for my sister?
But the Gemara mentioned many
No, not this case. She's asking you. That's what I should do. I have a husband, and now you're telling me that I should give him my husband in order that my sister should marry him.
It's the hard-nosed halachas.
No, she doesn't have to. She's telling me to do you. I said, no, I don't want to do me. I don't have to go fast because it's very late.
Okay, once the rice.
No,
the rice should be victorious, right?
No, the one is there. The right say you can do, but you can't do it because the one is standing in the way. So what is? So she doesn't want to go. She says go. She says I don't want. Why should she? Why should she say? But there is. But I just wanted to get the. But there is a reason because we tell her you can't stay married to him anyway because it's a chos kukasa.
That's right.
You happen to be a chos kukasa also. So your marriage anyway is not going to do. So what do you want to do? You can't stay married to him. So might as well make way. So that okay. Now we'll see the Mishnah. It's a little late if everyone wants to stay. It is a Gadata coming up also. So today no one's waiting for us afterwards. Okay, here's the Mishnah. First case, simple, both of them are ktanos. No matter which husbands make a difference. They take out the word halazu. So then there's nothing because it's a marriage. It's a sister's wife, a wife's sister. So there's no yibum at all. Take out the word halazu if you want. And also take out the word v'chein shtei chaloshos. They take out that also. That's going to be in Mishnahs later on. That's to take it all out. So far it's simple that if you they say that there's nothing to do, no yibum, no chalitza, because she is a wife's sister. Besides being a brother's wife, it's also a wife's sister. There's no such. It's erva. There's no din of yibum. How about one is a big girl, one is an adult, one is a katana, a big sister and a small sister. Katana or katana, who depends who died. Meis balashal katana, if the husband of the katana died, so there's a real wife's sister, means she's falling to Yibum, midrabanan. But the Raisa, there's no Yibum. I'll get it on the chart again. This was this case, that the husband of the katana died. So we want that he should do Yibum, for sure not. There's a real wife's sister. Of course not. It's not even a real Yibum, but it's, so that's for sure.
Yeah.
And that's what it says. She goes out because she no relation, no yibum. But now is a problem. Now is a problem because with the Raisa there's a chiv yibum and with Rabbanan standing in the way. Now it's going to be three shitas, Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Shua. Rabbi Lezer Omer, what Rabbi Lezer said. Rabbi Lezer is Rabbi Lezer. You tell the Ketana to do Mian, and she's out of Mafreya, she hasn't been here at all, and then you do Yibum. Rabbi Gamliel Omer, if she agrees, she agrees. But if not, if she doesn't agree, then what I said is a problem because achos kukasa. But we had a machlokas a couple of times. Do you say yesh zika ein zika? If you hold ein zika, am I correct? But when Neil holds ein zika, and it's not achos kukasa, and she's allowed to stay. If she wants to, she could remain until she grows up, and then he gets married to her, and the Raisa, and then she goes out because even though she fell to Yibum, but not as no Yibum anymore because now became a wife's sister. So that's only Rashi says only because you hold ein zika. If you hold yesh zika, then he's not allowed to marry her because there's a chos kukasa, because the other one is kukatim, so it's chos malama. But if you hold ein zika, so then she has the option of staying and then getting her husband.
In the second opinion, where she couldn't stay with him anyway, that's why you tell her to do Mian.
That wasn't the second. I didn't say that. I didn't.
Rabbi Yalaz?
He just said that tell her to do Mian. He didn't speak out. I spoke out that she'll say I don't want to. So I said, that she's not going to gain because she can't stay anyway because she's a chos kukasa. Because the yesh zika. Yeshakah. Thank you.
That's true.
Is it true? It should be true. If you hold yesh zika, so then she can't stay, right? And Rabbi Gamliel holds ein zika, so then he would be able to. She wait till he gets married, and then she can go. The sister that has right now the zibum, but that goes away because she's going to become achos ishtam. That was Rabbi Gamliel. And the third opinion, Rabbi Yeshua Omer, ilo al ishto, ilo al eishes achid. Whoa, oi to him for his wife. He loses everybody. He loses his wife. He loses his sister-in-law. Motzi asishto baget ve'eshes lachab b'chalitza. He can't stay with anybody because he does hold of zika. So there's no way to get achos kukasa. But how come Mian is not an option? Why is Rabbi Lezer wrong? He doesn't say. He just says it's not an option. That he doesn't say why not. So we're going to see Rashi learns that the reason is because it's not a good thing to do Mian. We'll see in a second.
Can you just read for the punctuation again?
Yeah.
Oilo.
It says E, right? E means like oi.
Yeah.
Woe to him about his wife. Woe to him about his sister-in-law. Which means the other one is the yevamos falling to him. Means he can't get either one of them. According to Rabbi Lezer, he got his sister-in-law. According to Rabbi Gamliel, he can get his wife. According to Rabbi Yeshua, he loses both of them. Motzi asishto baget ve'eshes lachab b'chalitza. He has to divorce his wife and he has to give his sister-in-law chalitza. Okay, that's the three opinions. The Gemara starts. And the Tanakama, Rabbi Lezer, he said, wait, tell her to do Mian. And the Gemara is surprised to tell somebody to do Mian. And we didn't have this yet. We had a whole parak already, and we didn't say any hesitation of doing Mian. And now the Gemara is going to say, it's not so simple. We don't want Mian. We'll meet Shari. We'll see later on why not. But Tani Bar Kapara, here starts the Gadata. A person should always cling to three issues and stay away from another three issues. What should he do? Chalitza, Hava Shalom, or Bafaras Nedorim. That he should try to do Chalitza means in contrast to Yibum, do Chalitza, and Hava Shalom. Okay, always try to make peace. And the Bafaras Nedorim, try to nullify a vow. If there was a vow that was made, try to nullify it. And those are the three things to go after. And the three things to stay away from. That's what we're looking for. It says here, don't stay away from Mian. Don't advise anybody to do Mian. The young girl that she's married, don't tell her to do Mian. Even if you think it's not a good shidduch, don't tell her to do Mian. And from receiving custodianship, that you shouldn't have to be a shomer on anything. Someone asks you to watch something, think twice. And min arvonos, let's see, and from being an orev. Don't be a guarantor for somebody's loan. Stay away.
The pekadonos is what? It's the wholesale.
To be a custodian, right? Pekadon, right? Those are the three things. Mark's going to talk about everything. But anyway,
Now you tell me.
You still have a long life ahead of you, Moshe.
Okay.
so the Gemara is
That's
just
nice, yeah.
the Gemara is just focusing on this thing about doing Mian. It says don't do Mian. So how could he say tell her to do Mian? You're not supposed to advise people to do Mian. The Gemara answers Mian the mitzvah shani. Here it's a mitzvah to do it in order to allow the Yibum to go through. So that's why it's a
I'm sorry,
mitzvah.
that's the through, we're through with the,
It were 3 and 3,
with the Bryce.
right? And all we wanted,
What was Mian, it was a kasha on the Mian.
right? That it says here, Bakapar says not to do mian. So how
We're
come
gonna
here you're
do mian.
dividing with the mian? A mitzvah is different. Here you're doing it for the purpose of mitzvah in order to make way for the yibum. So here you're allowed to tell somebody to do mian.
Okay.
The Gemara goes now on a,
The
on a
rice midrabanan, we don't make this.
what does the rice rabbanon mean?
The yibum is the rice and then the minu is the rabbanan.
Yes, but the marriage is in the way. So it's not so it's in the way. So it's in the way. You don't just erase it.
Why don't we say that the fulfillment of the yibum, which is the rice, is greater than the mitzvah of staying married without making yibum, without making minu. Right?
I'm not sure, but I'm not sure. You're saying without the Gemara, with the Gemara? There's a Rabbanan standing in the way. You can't go on with the Yibum if there's a Rabbanan standing in the way. So there's an answer to like pull the rug out from the whole problem. But the Gemara says that it's you're not allowed to do usually. The Gemara says in the case of a mitzvah, you are allowed to. The Gemara goes on a tangent over here to tell us a bonus about all these 6 things. Gufa, Tani Bakapara, this is not the subject. We don't have to know it for the Asugya. But the Gemara goes on an opportunity to say about these 6 things. Tani Bakapara, Lord, Mitukad Mishlosh, Bachalitza, and each time about analyze each one. Why do Chalitza instead of Yibum? Kabashol, the Tanya, Abashol, Omer, Akonis, Shivim, Tov, Hashem Noi, Hashem Mishos, Hashem Dovaracher, Kilo Pogea Berva. Abashol holds that if someone's going to do Yibum, but he has ulterior motives because she's beautiful, because he wants to marry her as if it's his own marriage, not that he's doing it in order to.
Can I ask something on this? Or maybe say it a little different. Correct me if I'm wrong. If she's beautiful, it doesn't mean he's not allowed to. Can't be the only reason.
Right, can't be the reason.
Or maybe the overriding.
If he's doing it for that reason, they allow him to marry her. But he's interested in her beauty and not in the fact that he's making Lachiv Shem Yisrael. He's not doing.
A wife can't think that he's marrying her just to Shem.
We're not talking about a wife. We're not talking about a wife.
Yevamos going to become his wife, right?
He's doing it because Lachiv Shem Lachiv Yisrael. The reason why everyone knows the reason why he's married is a sister-in-law. You don't marry a sister-in-law. Everyone knows this marriage is happening because after they're married, then they're allowed to be married. But the initial yibum that's being done has to be done with Shem Yisrael. Once they did yibum, so then the Torah permits her to be married. Now they're married as a husband and wife. The yibum was already done the first time. But Yibum has to be done for the mitzvah of Yibum. And the second reason is Shemishus, as if he's taking his own wife, as if he's marrying. That's a good thing when he marries his own wife. But when he marries a Yavam, he's supposed to take it as a brother, doing it for his brother, or the Racheret, whatever other reason. Ishus means marriage.
I mean, if he's single and he's looking for a
You
wife,
shouldn't marry her for marriage.
Right. It's not that he's marrying her for his marriage. He's marrying her because of his brother, to give his brother a shame, to give a shame a shin man, to give him a name. His name shouldn't be erased. That's what the Torah says, to do Yibum. So if the Yavam,
He's saying don't do it.
when he gets married, we say you get married to a woman outside, do it l'shem ishus. That's the proper thing to do. You marry. But now you're getting your sister-in-law, don't take her as marriage of your marriage.
All of these are not.
There's so much Yibum over here.
Only about Yibum.
If somebody marries his Yavama because she's beautiful, because he wants to get married, because a different purpose, that's Kilo Pagea Be'er, but it's like he's marrying a sister-in-law. It's like he's marrying a sister-in-law. You can't marry a sister-in-law, you have to do Yibum to a sister-in-law. Taisus says a different shot than I said. I think what the words are simple. Taisus before Lamates says that he's doing it because he wants to get a name that he's married. He wants to be called Mr.
He wants to be important.
He wants to be important. So I think
goes up.
what?
Goes from a
Yeah.
single to a married man.
So
Because she's important.
doesn't mean that's not the each just means marriage. But Taisus says like the name.
And this ends with Mamzer. This is the end of the
But
process.
the Korban Elias have blood mamzer, yes.
Yeah.
That would be like a mamzer, the fact like he's marrying a sister-in-law without the mitzvah of
It's
Yibum.
like Zeus.
In a regular marriage, you're supposed to think, oh, I'm only getting married just because it's the mitzvah, that's it?
No, it didn't say the word mitzvah over here. It said the word ishus. Each on the contrary, I would say that on contrary. A person marries because marriage. That's what here by marrying a yevama for marriage. That's the
But I'm
problem.
saying, but a regular marriage.
That's what he's supposed to do. He's
That's
supposed to
what
marry.
you're
It's the same
supposed
ishus. That's what he's supposed to do.
The shame
For getting married. There's a thing that Hashem created in the world that's called marriage.
Right.
You're getting married for that
The
purpose.
mitzvah of being married.
I didn't say the word mitzvah.
No mitzvah. Okay, get married. That's the normal thing to do.
It's a mitzvah to be normal. Hashem made normalcy in the world, and Hashem says marry.
And Yibum is different.
And Yibum is
It's
different.
not-
Yibum is not
that's-
marriage.
That's not normal.
And once they're married, so then stay married. You gotta stay married. You want to divorce, you can divorce her. You want to stay married, you can stay married. But the initial relation is going to be Yibum.
It's gonna be Yibum, not Ishus.
So that's the reason why I stay away. And the Chachamim argue. The Chachamim say we don't care about the kavanah, even though it's very noble to do it, but the kavanah is fine, and therefore the Chachamim will say do Yibum. But Abba Shaul holds that if you do it with the bad kavanah, so it's terrible. So Abba Shaul will say lachatchila do chalitza, and that's what they paskin nowadays. At least some more mechaber, which is better to do. Some paskin is better to do Yibum. Machokas he passed like Abba Shaul in it, but according to Abba Shaul, it's better to do
It's
chalitza.
really like Erica. If he's doing L'Shem Ishus to.
Kol Yosef.
Hmm?
Kilu pogeh b'eva. I don't think he's not going to say it's really a mamzer. It just means
No,
that
but
it's
it's
the
lying.
wrong thing. It's the wrong thing. It has to be done with it.
Yeah.
So that's the reason to stay away from to cling to chalitza, do chalitza instead of yibum. That was the first one.
So Pashtus, Chalitza is number one. That's
According to Abba Shaul,
oh,
according to the Chachamim,
right.
yibum is number one
So about Yosef, that he says for some reason he should do you.
because that's the Chachamim. Machlok P'sei Paschanon. The next one, Abba Shalom, a person should.
So shouldn't you from Alkane,
Yaza,
Yaza, which is ugly.
That Hashem made the world in a way that a person gets married.
No, but would it have children?
Doesn't say that. The person you brought the person just now. Lo tov v'yos adam levado. Lo tov v'yos adam levado. Lo tov v'yos adam levado. That's the person you just mentioned. Lo tov v'yos adam levado. Es lo eze kenegdo. Now he says something else. The person says lo tov v'yos adam levado doesn't say because of children. It says lo tov. It's not good. It's not good because he doesn't have children. Is that the pshat? Not mashma. It says lo tov. Yeah. Okay, so it doesn't say children.
It's a continuation of the plus.
Yeah, there's what to say over there also, but
you better go to whole kunchus about it.
okay. But okay. But Havah Shalom. The second thing a person should cling to is Havah Shalom. To bring peace. To bring peace between who?
Husband and wife, or down.
And any two people?
Right, to me.
Any two people. Also including himself as one of the two people.
Right.
That's an important thing.
Sure.
That's Havah Shalom means bringing peace. Sometimes people bring peace between other people, but he said Rashi and Shabbos Kuf Chazayin Mamish says that Havah Shalom means to make peace between him and other people also. It didn't say marriage. We are thinking about the it says in the davening over there, some put in B'nei Shlosh, some say that also. Different gesos. Seek peace and run after it. The Gemara brings us now a side point over here. This is like extra credit. This is Xer Shova about the word rodeh. See, this is a side point. So Xer Shova, the word rodeh. Here it says, run after peace. Here it says, somebody runs after tzedakah, chesed, will find brachas of life and tzedakah and kavod. These are all brachas. So the person who's running after shalom is also going to get these brachas. Side point. Back to the issue that a person also should cling to Afaras Nadar and try to nullify vows. The time I know that kilu bana bama. If a person makes a net there, it's like he built a bama. A bama is not a good thing. A bama, when you're not allowed to do bama, when there's a base of mikdash, you're not allowed to do a bama. So if someone makes a net there, it's like he's creating a bama. Machavuch said a nice shot that a bama is like making his own kind of service to Hashem. Hashem may say how you're supposed to serve him in the base of mikdash, and he's doing his own kind of service. So a net there is also the same kind of thing. Hashem didn't prohibit it, and you're prohibiting it, making new isurim. So it's like you're making a bama. And if you made a net there, so try to get rid of it. Don't continue. If you fulfill the neder, of course you're not supposed to violate the neder. You're supposed to be matir neder, be made for neder, get rid of it. But if someone's going to continue and fulfill the neder, it's like he bought a carbon and he continued going in his way of making his own isurim. So it's not a good thing. That's we finished the first list of 3 things that the person should try to do: chalitza instead of yibam, and avah shalom instead of fight, and hafaras nadar instead of fulfilling the neder. And now it goes on to the 3 things that a person should stay away from. One is minamiyunim. Why? Don't advise the girl to do miyun. Maybe she's going to get big and she's going to have chavata. Why did I refuse? I had such a good guy. That's because one time he didn't give me a lollipop, so I went out. So don't advise her to give a minyan. Now, I have a problem with this because is that the Rashi says Rabbi Yeshua in the Mishnah, we have three opinions in the Mishnah. Rabbi Elazar says encourage her to do minyan. Rabbi Gamliel says if she agrees, agrees. If not, she can wait and get the husband if she stays. Rabbi Yeshua says don't do minyan, don't do anything, everything's out. Why? The Mishnah doesn't say, the Gemara is not going to say. Rashi says because Rabbi Yeshua holds, don't do minyan. The one Sakasha before on the Tanakam, how could you do? Why tell her to do minyan? Rabbi Elazar? So he said this is better. And Rabbi Yeshua, let's say argues on that. That's what Rashi says in the Mishnah that Rabbi Yeshua says don't do minyan. It's not a good thing to do minyan. And therefore, what? But
Because of
because the Bakapora says this, and the Gemara says the reason is because she might have Charat later on. But that doesn't make sense in Agamara because in Agamara, Rabbi Yeshua holds Yezika. So this girl is out anyway. She's not going to be able to stay with her husband. So what's the problem to do minyan? Rashi's reason, L'chora, needs a lot of explanation. We don't understand Rabbi Yeshua. Why doesn't he not advise to do minyan? Because here there's no reason. It doesn't apply. Even if you say better not to do minyan, it's only when there's a chance that she can stay with him. So then she's out Charata. Here's no Charata. Why Charata? She wasn't able to live with him anyway. So I don't understand Rashi. The Gemara continues, stay away from becoming a custodian. The bar masa, the baise ki baise dami. Just translation, but someone lives in the same city, then Ero, because his house is like his house. So what does that mean? So Rashi says up shot here, don't accept a pikadon in the same city, because baise ki baise. Rashi says extreme shot that since he's in your house often, he's your neighbor, and you're keeping a pikadon for him, and he has access to your house. So he might take it without you knowing, and then he's going to come and say, "Where's my pikadon?" That's a real evil guy. You're doing him a favor, and he's going to come into your house and take it, and then say, "Where's my pikadon?" That's okay. That's what Rashi says.
That's a famous sefer.
What does it say?
I don't know.
Tell-
You know. Someone once didn't, or Sham Shabran, someone once was really bad to him.
Did I
And I'm
do?
trying to figure out when did I do my favor? Is that
But that's in something. But in the same issue that I'm watching his thing, I'm doing it, and he's going to go steal it from me, and then ask me where's.
Where's my money?
So
I don't
I don't know.
understand how you get all that from the words though.
It does right. The words are very loose. It says in the same city
We
where
said
his house is like his house.
Just who he is, right?
But I must admit, it's only if it's in the same city. If it's a different city, then it's a good thing to be a
Bar
brother.
Masa is somebody
Ben Ero,
who's
the
like
Ben
a neighbor
Ero,
or something.
right? And his house is like his house.
Oh, Debaisa, keep
The Baiseki, I mean, his house, that means my house is like his house because he has access to it. I don't know. It seems to me strange. I don't know. Machavus offered another shot in the words that we didn't find. But if you have a pikadon for him, it's a kind of a pikadon that he takes and gives back. So then he's going to be coming into your house too often. Your house is going to become his house. Means he's going to be intruding on you too much. I need my thing. I need my dad. It's like you become a machsan for him. He's always coming in the house. But we didn't see this shot.
I could think of another thing. If he's always there and then it's lost, he could accuse the guy that, you're always in my house. You probably took it back. And that's why I don't have it. He could accuse him.
That's not a reason why I shouldn't become we're talking to the one who's the custodian. Don't become a custodian. What are you scared of? You're saying don't give it. Don't give. You're saying don't give it. Don't give. You're saying don't give it to a person in the same city. Don't give your object to a custodian in the same city. Here we're talking to the custodian, saying don't become a custodian.
Right. Okay. Good.
The Gemara continues also, stay away from being a guarantor. Mina Eravon. Ba'arvei Shal Sion. What kind of Arv? Only a Arv Shal Sion. Arv Shal Sion, I think it's pretty famous, that it means that you have to pay. That you have rights to go to the guarantor without what we call Arv Kablan. You have rights to go to the Arev, to the guarantor, without going first to the Loba. Even if the Loba has, he can go straight to you. So that's Rashi says. Rashi only has a question: what does Shal Sion mean? What's the word? We think something to do with Sion. It doesn't sound like it. Either one shot is it's the name of a place where over there they used to not go to the Loba, they used to go straight to the Arev, or that has some kind of abbreviation. Shal Sion means Shlov Dots, and it means that he's out from the Loba and into the Arev. But the point is that he has rights to go to the guarantor without going to the Arev first. So it sounds like if you have to go to the Loba first, and only in case he doesn't have money, then they come to the Arev, then it's okay to be an Arev. But if you trust the Loba, I guess. But if not, then don't be an Arev. Don't be an Arev Kabbalah. Nowadays, whenever they want an Arev, they always say Arev Kabbalah. They always say become an Arev Shal Sion. Always become a Shlov Dots. Always become, because they don't want to have to bother only if they could prove that the Loba doesn't have money to pay. So usually when they ask all the Gemachim, when they ask you, they always say Arev Kabbalah. So the Gemara is talking about somebody that you don't.
Problem is what you're not supposed to do.
Right. Don't become an Arev Kabbalah. Right.
It's $400.
You lost 100,000.
By being an Orv.
Really?
Okay.
They got you? Oh. Well, shut up.
Bad judge, I'm a bad judge of character. Alex.
Did you know that? The law?
Not well enough, I guess.
The Gemara does, I think,
That was the last time you.
That was the last time I saw.
That's it,
That was
that's
the
it.
last time.
I think, yeah, I think that sometimes people ask to sign for a guarantor. So you hesitate. So they say, I'm gonna pay. So I said, on the side you're gonna pay, you don't need me. It's only, you're only coming to me on the side you're not gonna pay. If you have money, then you don't need me. It's only
Right.
because, so he said, come on, you don't know that I'm gonna pay. I think you're not allowed to be an Orv. If that's the case, you're not allowed to be an Orv. You're not allowed to be an Orv because I think that the Gemara's advice is don't be an Orv for somebody that you just trust he's gonna pay. Only be an Orv for somebody that you're willing to pay if he doesn't pay. You have to assume when you're signing, I'm assuming he's not gonna have money. I'm ready to
I
pay.
mean, let's say if someone's granddaughter that has to get
Yeah,
married, they
something like
have to
that,
be
yeah.
co-signer for that.
Brother, whatever it's gonna be, somebody that I'm willing to pay, if he can't, pay, that's when you're signing. Or else your signature is a fake signature. You say, I didn't mean it. He comes, the guy, the mark comes and says, you gotta pay. He says, no, I have to pay. But you signed because he's supposed to pay. I don't need you for that. I need you in case you're not gonna
No,
pay.
but that's-
So-
sometimes the Gemach won't lend.
Yes,
Let's say my neighbor.
Yes,
Not
yes.
to borrow $200.
Yes.
Gemach won't lend unless. I
yes.
sign
So
also.
are you willing to pay $200 for him? It's not just.
I'm not willing to, but I'm willing to, let's say it's a 1% chance, I'm willing, if it depends, if it's
What do you
50%
mean?
chance,
So-
I'm not.
But if it happens,
You have to-
if it happens, you ready to pay? If not, then don't sign.
I had a case by me, it was in a better case than yours.
Yeah.
The guy needed $1,000, it was an H.
Mhm.
So I was a co-signer, and then the guy committed suicide.
Oh, yeah.
So, Gil came over to me and says, Moish, I know, but I'm sorry. but
With
you-
the borrower committed suicide.
Yeah.
And what about the
And I got-
cosigner?
the guy- I'm the co-signer.
Oh, you didn't have two cosigners.
I think-
They also say each co-signer has to pay,
I think
has
that-
full
no,
responsibility.
I think I was the only
I
one
had a
that
co-signer.
Gil gave it only because
Uh-huh,
he
uh-huh.
knew me.
Uh-huh.
So,
Okay. I have another Eitzah. This someone came over to me, asked me to be a co-signer. I said, I'll lend you the money, but I won't be a co-signer.
Why?
I want a good co-signer. I'm willing to lend the money, but I have to get the money back, and I don't know that he can pay back. I'll lend you the money, but get me a good co-signer. But I'm not gonna be the co-signer. Because it's not a problem to lend money as long as you have your money guaranteed. The money's not guaranteed. So get me a good signer. This co-signer, I know that he's serious. Said I'm willing to lend you the money.
But my story has
That's
a
what my
good,
father.
but my story has a good ending anyway. So his parents came to the buyer.
Mhm.
I went up to the mother very, very nicely. I said, listen, I know whatever. I said, it doesn't have to be today, whatever. I just want to know the story. And she said, I know you telling the truth. She said, I know my son, and they, whatever. And she says, I'm gonna come back to, she was from France. She says, I'll come back in a month, and I promise you I'll take care of you.
She paid you.
Oh, beautiful.
So that was-
Wow.
That was a good, nice ending.
Mhm.
But I paid for the deal right away.
How old was the boy?
26. I remember.
The Amar Rabbi Yosef Ma'adik said, Raya Ruach Yoav Zoh. Pasuk in Mishlei it says, the Pasuk also the Pasuk in Mishlei says a couple of times, don't be a co-signer for a stranger. And what is a stranger? Everything according to its understanding.
How far was
So,
the Pasuk on this?
here is it. Raya Ruach Yoav Zoh. It's on the screen. Raya Ruach Yoav Zoh. So the Pasuk means it's going to be broken. The Raya Ruach, because he'll be broken because he was a guarantor for a stranger. But the more saying a drash, says three things, and we're going to go on a tangent for that also. But the word ra'yeh, the more is not evil. Evil after evil is going to come too. So now the more is saying a drash. Orev Zor, we're saying it's going to be soon means Orev, means a co-signer. But the also says a problem by accepting a ger. Orev Zor, mixing in a convert that sometimes they're not committed. They're not committed to Gerim. There's a problem with Gerim sometimes that they're not committed. So a person who takes in Gerim is a dangerous thing. And also,
What do you take them in where?
the Judaism.
Oh.
Well, yeah, make sure you're taking in good game. Don't take Gerim down because they're bringing in people and then they're not committed. And also, L'Arvei shall see, this is what we just said, that are already. So that's called, the evil is going to come to the person who is a Orev, is a co-signer. And also, to chaos more than so these words don't fit into the pasuk. What does that have to do with Raya Ruach? So Rashi tells us going to the end of the pasuk. Rashi brings on the end of the pasuk that it says, where's the end of the pasuk? It's only here's Rashi. It's only tokim you go there. That's the end of the pasuk. Raya Rock, you was or but so they talking about the Pashtat also Tokea is not Tokea's cup. Tokea's cup means you give a handshake, and that means you obligate yourself the handshake. So it says you have to be hate to be a handshaker. It means a handshaker that obligates you to pay. The same thing as Arab. And that's and a person who doesn't, he doesn't become a co-signer, he's both there, he's secure. But anyway, what is the Gemara station on that? That he shouldn't beat the Sidrash. Don't beat the ask for the Dvar Allah, which the Gemara is going to talk about. What does that mean? To trust yourself in for Dvar Allah, what do the words mean? We're going to elaborate. That Gerim are sometimes difficult to Israel like it's Haras because they become Jewish and then they don't keep the mitzvahs. The other one is Avish Al Zion. What's that? The Avdi Shlof Dots. So we said the Shlof Dots is that they're not obligated to go to the Lova, they go straight to the Ore. Don't be like that. And the third thing is the Kasmal of the Allah. That's a couple of Shatim over here. The Tanya Yom Kol Omer Ein Lo Torah, Ein Lo Torah. The Bushi said if someone says I only have Torah, I don't have Torah, so he doesn't have Torah. Of course he doesn't. Pshita. If he says he doesn't learn Torah, he doesn't have Torah. El Kol Omer Ein Lo Elo Torah, Ein Lo Elo Torah. If someone says I only have Torah, nothing else, I only do Torah, I don't do anything else. So then he only has Torah. If that's all he does, he only goes after Torah. He only has Torah. That's a pshat. If someone says I only have Torah, then he doesn't even have Torah. So to cast Rashi says it means somebody only learns, but he doesn't do. He doesn't practice what he learns. So saying any other Torah, I just learn. He just learn. You have to do. So a person says he only has Torah, he doesn't even have Torah. So that's going to be the person to cast that he's just learning. That's not good. You have to learn in order to do. My timer, I'm Papa, I'm a pro. Whenever it says to learn, it says learn and do. Somebody that does, that means that he's learning his work. But if he doesn't do it, then his learning is nothing. Another pshat in this statement that says somebody says he doesn't have Torah. The way it was quoted originally, and that seems to be pshita. The kasha was, of course, if he says he only has Torah, so he only has Torah. That a person teaches, but he doesn't practice, but he teaches, and the people who learn from him, they practice. So you might think that he's at least credited for the doings that they do. You might think he gets reward because he taught people and they're doing. But since he doesn't do, he doesn't even get reward for the people that he teaches yesterday. Another pshat, the dina the asi dina lakameh v'gamra alacha umedami milsa lamilsa this rabba v'lazal mishal. If somebody a dine that people come to ask him a question and he doesn't know about that particular halacha, he has something similar and he starts comparing, but there is somebody bigger than him that he could have gone to ask and he doesn't ask. So you're basking in a place where you could ask somebody and get a more accurate answer. So that's also that's not good. It's come to him bed after bed. He says, the person always see like a sword is between his thighs, and Kenem is opened up under him, and he might fall in if he makes a mistake. That each person has the pashut is he has a sword on his thigh, ready to. He says in Shir Shira. Maybe he said Kishma Lamita also. So Nipachad Valeilos, Nipachad Shal Gehenim Shadom Laila. That he Nipachad Valeilos that he's scared of Gehenim. So a person who's I don't see in the pasuk how you see it. Gibor Yishol means Chamid Chachamim that are paskening, but they have to have that they should have to be like to have a sword, not that they're ready to fight, to have a sword that might go into them. Because if they say mistake, it's their own fault for passing without doing the best that they could to find out, so then they're going to be responsible for that mistake. So a person shouldn't be easy to pass him. I guess we could stop here. So we didn't finish it, but it's also, so we'll stop here.
Good.
Yeshkoch, everybody. Thank you.
Okay.
9:30.
9:30, Bez Hashem. Thank you.
9:30.
Nice to have a scene coming up.